Hello. So I am back. If you saw my last post, for those for the last it was this video, and I posted a picture on TikTok and I think Instagram and I think Facebook. Yeah, that was not the look. Like, I showed it to my mom and she was like, "You look like someone punched you in the face," and I did, or like I had some sort of skin disorder, which I kind of do. But anyways, that wasn't what that was. So, today we are going to talk about the Eastland Disaster and its ghosts that accompany it. Because, trauma begets ghosts. And we're also going to talk about, I believe I already talked about this, but we're going to talk about the Titanic Exhibit too, because that was in my original video. And so, and I'm gonna start with some moisturizer because I just washed my face. But so the Eastland was a boat that was meant to ferry employers, or employees rather, probably the employers too might have gone, to Michigan City, Indiana, and they would have like this picnic. Basically, it was like a company picnic. And apparently, from what I've read and heard, Westinghouse, who were the employees that were going on this company picnic, they treated their people very nice. They actually had a city, like a whole city, which was common back then, but usually people were treated like trash when it came to like their employees. Like they did not care, especially like meal towns and stuff. But in that respect, Westinghouse is different, and so this is one of the perks that they had, was this company picnic. And they would go to Michigan City, go to the beach, play in the water, do all the things. And the problem though was with the Eastland, which would be the ship. I guess you would call it a ship. Yeah, it's a ship boat, floating receptacle. The problem with using this particular boat was that she weren't seaworthy. As far as she was seaworthy, but they essentially overloaded the ship. And this is it's so freaky. Like, after watching documentaries and stuff on it, it's pretty unnerving, But the Eastland will be docked. Oh, here it is. Is this it? Fixing it, forget it. Yeah. The Eastland will be docked at one of the Chicago docks. And they had been there since probably about 6 or 7 that morning. And so passengers for this ship, for this boat, for this trip essentially, are getting on this boat. And they are super excited, as I would be too, because I love a good little trip. Little trip. Anyways, like I was saying, they have been getting on this ship for several hours. And in fact, there was one person who said that this woman had grown up around boats and ships all her life. I think her father was a fisherman. And when she saw it, she was like, I don't like the look of this, F this ship. And her family convinced her to go aboard, which will teach you, if something don't feel right, might not want to get on it. And so that was, and I'm not going to call it her mistake, because, it's not. I wouldn't count it as such. But the capacity of the ship was 2,300 souls, but it has been said there were more than 3,000 people on board. So it's all these people. God, I hope this is the right shade. Otherwise, we're going to have a problem. Wait a minute. This is the wrong shade. I think I bought this for something else. So never mind. We're going to use my regular foundation. So they were over capacity, essentially. And it gets bad real quick. So people said that the ship would actually list or lean from side to side. And, you know, the people were laughing about it because they're like, oh my God, it's so many people. Amazing. Like, it's lit, you know. They would say that they just had fun. Like, even children were just excited because this ship just kept rocking back and forth. Something similar like this happened, little side note, on a Carnival ship. And the reason it wasn't capacity, thankfully, but I guess you could say even worse, it was, it had to do with like the ballast, which keeps the ship steady. Something went out to do with the ballast, and people were like, get me off the ship. But not in the Eastland's case. No, these people were way too happy. You know, they had been looking forward to this trip, and they were just ready to go. So the vessel will eventually list so hard. I hate to say so hard, but so hard that this will lead to the disaster. So this is what the disaster is. It makes it damn near impossible to get off or escape the ship. The woman who said, like, this ain't right, she was actually trapped in the bottom of the ship, and like they had like not a grand ballroom, but like a what would we call it? It was like a main area, like a salon type area or a restaurant. They call it a salon, but it would be like a restaurant sitting area. She was actually trapped below when this happens. And at that point, I know she was like, damn. You know, this is it. So, 844 people lost their lives, including 22 entire families. And there was one video I watched where they talked about this little boy who became like the sort of symbol for the children that were lost on this ship. And I think his name is like little Jimmy or something like that. I'll have to look it up just to make sure. But it's tragic. It was at first it was kind of like a hopeless event because people felt like they really couldn't help them. And then you have your, you know, of course you do get your heroes. So there was actually a teenage boy who was there at the docks, and he sees this happen, and he dives in and immediately starts saving people. But the police get there and arrest him because what they say, he was like impeding an event, something stupid. It was something completely ridiculous. They ended up taking like the bodies out of the boat or out of the ship boat. We're just gonna use it interchangeably. They ended up taking these bodies that were found below and in the water. So there are stories of like women and you know, back then this is the turn of the century. So women have these, you know, heavy dresses, and they were effectively, their dresses were like a death trap. So they had to get these women who had either died or were drowning out of the water. And this will lead to actually some of the ghost stories. So I'm giving you a little bit of background and just mindlessly blending in this foundation. But we're going to get on to the story. So, you know, like I said earlier, with all this tragedy, we're going to get some scary stories. So let me turn my page here. So there was a building, and I'll put the picture, I'm sure you saw it in my last video, of this building. It was I forgot the name of it, but it was a grocery building. I think I have it in my notes here. And, well, they stored groceries, like fresh fruit. Since this is a dock, they use it as such. But when the Eastland disaster strikes, they actually used it as a morgue. So there were so many dead bodies that they had to essentially they really did use places across the city, because, think about it. Like I said, 22 families dying. It's a lot of people. I'm trying to see, did I have the name of the building in here? And I did not. Oh, here it is. Reed Murdoch and Co. building on LaSalle Street. So this was a grocery warehouse. That's the one I was just talking about. That is going to be used as a morgue. So they'll use that as a morgue, and they'll also use another building that, when I tell you who owns it now, you're going to be like, damn, that's messed up. Or, well, who used to own it? I don't know if they still own it, but it will be where they store bodies. Since it was a warehouse, and I'm pretty sure they had some sort of some sort of refrigeration, that is going to be where they put a lot of these corpses. So, naturally, this place is haunted. People who work there, I think it's like just a regular office building now, but people who have worked there late at night report hearing doors slamming. And okay, skeptics, before, because I'm not a full skeptic, I don't believe there's a logical explanation for everything. So, I'm not gonna say these people are wilding, they seeing things. No. I do believe that building is haunted. But people have said they hear like doors slamming. I'm trying to see. There was one that had a specific one. Oh, people have said they see shadow people. And not like, my shadow's on the wall. No, like a real whole shadow person. And at that point, I'd be like, get me the F out of here, because I'm not dealing with that. So there's been shadow people, specifically at night. And I would probably argue to say during the day, too. Sounds can also be heard in rooms where no one is, or should be, especially. Should be, that's important. Like, you hearing stuff where someone is not supposed to be, so like, not even authorized personnel, like, no, that room's empty, or no one's using that room, and you hearing this kind of stuff. Lights are also said to flicker on and off. And I guess you could argue that that's just, an old building, but if this is an office building, I'm pretty sure they're keeping it up. Something even creepier is that people have also seen faces. Ew, I hate this. Faces where they're not supposed to be, essentially. So, faces, look, I'm gonna drop my mirror almost. So they're seeing faces like in the water or in the Chicago River itself. People have called the police because they thought they saw someone drowning or waving for help. And when the police get there, there's no one there. And I think this is the one where they said they send the rookies out, which is completely asinine. Like, come on. Don't do that. Another notable haunt related to this tragedy is the former Oprah studio. So it's been said that when Oprah was working there, doing her show there were spirits walking around. I was trying to find like some specific examples, but they were saying that just know that the Oprah building's haunted by the ghosts of Eastland disaster victims, and the reason is that was another makeshift morgue location. So that's crazy. That's all I can say is like, when I read that, I was like, ooh, that's crazy. Let me get this eye here. Yeah, you have the Eastland Disaster. They name like the notable buildings, and if anyone from Chicago watches this video, like, can you tell me some more places that the Eastland disaster victims might sort of hang out? Because I was curious about that. And they say that nobody talks about this particular incident. I guess the reason because of that is because, so many families were lost, and it's so tragic that no one wants to talk about it, which I can understand. Nobody wants to relive that. So that was a little snippet on the Eastland disaster. And now, since I'm not finished with my face, we are also going to talk about the Titanic exhibit. And this was really pretty. I rarely use this. It's the Berries palette by Juvia's Place. It's really pretty. I didn't think my skin would be able to handle this. But, I might use that liner. So now we're going to talk about the Titanic exhibit. Now, the Titanic, I'm sure we all know the story. No, Rose and Jack were not real. They're not real. Whoops. I was trying to put this on. But let's see if I can do this freehand. So, the Titanic exhibit is an exhibit that has basically artifacts from the Titanic. And I've been to it. It's actually really cool. Creepy as hell, but really cool. So they have perfume that you can actually still smell from under the ocean. I was about to say under the sea. Go see Little Mermaid. I can't wait till it come out. Anyways, they have like replicas of the rooms that of the different cabins. So I remember they had like a first class cabin complete with the rocking of the ship. And I don't know if you know, but I love a good like rocking of a ship feeling. I'm literally like a baby. I think they even had like they have a steerage replica cabin. But it's actually really cool. And even crazier, they make it like ice cold down there. I just messed up my eyeliner. Oh well. It's ice cold in there, so it's very immersive. Like, it's got that immersive experience. Lord, child, this eyeliner. It's a very immersive experience. And it, of course, has its ghost. So, I remember when we went there, I think I was 16 or 17. And I regret I didn't wear my Victorian inspired outfit. it was this blue jean skirt with like this blue jean like jacket that had a real structured Victorian look. Anyways, it's not about me. So me and my mom went there because my mom is a school teacher, and she had won, I think she had won tickets or something crazy. I don't know. And I was like, I'm game. So we went, and I remember after the like initial tour, I wanted, ooh, God, we're gonna blend that out. I wanted this particular, it was like I wanted a white Star Line blanket, and I wanted some jewelry, because they had like jewelry that was like a replica of jewelry that a first class woman would have worn. And I was like, give me that. So I went to buy it, and my mom was like, absolutely not. And I was like, how you gonna tell me what to buy with my allowance? And she was like, no, put it down. And when I said, well, I'll get the blanket, that's when she really lost it. That's when I knew something was up. Like, as superstitious as I am, and I mean, I was back then, I don't see how I missed that. Like, how I completely did not think why my mom was being so like weird about this. And she'll tell me like later on, nah, I wasn't having you buy that, because she was like, you could have brought something home. And I was like, oh, Mom, silly. I'm not a conduit for spirits. I kind of am. I was like, I'm not a conduit for spirits. Don't be ridiculous. Well, apparently that is not the case. So we did the tour, and I tried to plead my case as to why I needed a white Star Line blanket. It was so cute. It was red and white. It was adorable. And it had the big old white Star Line thing on it. But apparently, she said later on she felt weird when we left there. And I was just like, yeah, me too. Like, it was part of it was cold in there, and it's this bluish darkness that, because that's my lights are that color right now, so in my room. So, it's weird because in different circumstances, that color scheme means different things. So if you're just thinking about the ocean as relaxing, you're like, oh yeah, cool. But if you're thinking about Titanic, not cool. So, no pun intended. But, like I said, we left the exhibit, and Mom's feeling weird. So we, as typical Southern people, we bury our feelings in a meal from the varsity. Typical Georgia. So, wait a minute. So, like I said, we go to the varsity, and we're vibing and enjoying. And we're also raving about the fact that we lived, because one of the things they did with this exhibit is they would give you a passenger. And that passenger will either live or die. I have a feeling they gave majority of the people the living ones, because children were seeing this exhibit as well, and I'm sure they didn't want to scare the living hell out of these kids. So like I said, we get this, we get our stuff, or we're talking, and I've still got that cold feeling. Like, I'm just like, ew. No, it's not for me. Like, I'm just like, something ain't right. Well, I wasn't, actually, no. Honestly, real talk, I was not like, something isn't right. I was just like, I'm cold. And I think I didn't think about it because, y'all, I'm always cold. So I wasn't too alarmed. My mom, on the other hand, was like, I'm so cold. And the whole time, we're just like, I'm cold. And I thought maybe we're getting sick. Maybe that's what's what. But it just got weirder and weirder that night. I was just left with such a sense of, like, hopelessness. I can never explain it. But I think that we kind of did bring something home. That exhibit really got to us. But other people have had this experience too. So there was a woman. Hold on a minute. Did I take the story? There was a woman who worked at the Titanic exhibit, and she apparently she loved it. I mean, I like it too. It looked like it's pretty cool, exhibit to work at. But she said that oftentimes she would be in there when she first got in there, and it would just feel like people were in there with her, like whispering and shit, like whispering, and she didn't think nothing of it because she probably was just like, girl, you tripping, how sometimes you gotta like psych yourself out so you can work. I used to have to do that working at Margaret Mitchell House. Like, girl, you're just wilding, calm down. So dramatic. So the feelings would sometimes get pretty strong. And one day, or one evening when the exhibit had closed, she was leaving for work. She kept feeling like someone was behind her. But then, she looked back because where this exhibit is, it's not a dangerous area, but it can be, it can be seedy. If you're in the city, you can't be just not on your guard. So she looked back, didn't see nobody, but I'm sure she did the old key trick. You put the keys like this so you get ready to shank somebody or throw down. But she didn't see anybody, but she kept up her guard until she got to her car. She got in her car and she looked in the back seat. And like sitting in the back seat of her car is a man. And she freaks out and she's like, get out! She's going off. But when she looks, he doesn't respond, first of all. When she looks at his clothing, she said he's dressed like a stoker. So stoker were those guys who worked down in the bottom of the ship shoveling coal or stoking coal into not the engine. I'm pausing. But basically they were helping to power the coal engines that power the ship, right? And she was just like, what the she's like, I'm tripping. And she was like, she thought of something that I would have actually said. It's like, oh, you've seen this face probably countless times. And it's like what they call a ghost image. They gotta pick a different word. They gotta pick a different term. What they call a ghost, like she was saying, oh, it's just like an image that's sort of burned on her eyes, and she's just, So she keeps driving, and I think he either disappeared or maybe she just ignored him. I don't know. But the next morning, I think she was off and she was cooking breakfast for her kids, and her daughter was like, hey mom, who's that man over there in the corner? And her mom was like, what man? And she was like, yeah, that man in the corner. He's got on like this cap and this vest, and he's just staring. Like, aren't you going to let him eat breakfast too? And this is a little girl, a young girl. And her mom is like, how'd you say he looked again? And so she described him. And it turned out to be that same guy that she had seen in the car. And that's when she knew she had brought someone home with her. So there are countless stories like this. And the Titanic exhibit has actually moved on from Atlanta. I think it's in Las Vegas, and I think there's one in Gatlinburg now. They were also supposed to do like a maiden voyage of a like Titanic 2, Titanic the remix. This time it's personal. I don't know, but they that didn't work out. I wouldn't get on that. But they've said at these other exhibits there have been like there have been spirits, people being followed home, people feeling cold, people feeling weird. Now, the depression thing or feeling down or hopeless, I would say if you know the history or even if you go into this particular exhibit, you probably are going to leave feeling down. But that cold feeling that people talk about, when I tell you, because I had this feeling, and like I said, my mom had the same feeling too. When you have that where it's like cold inside of you, and I remember I got home. I remember I had a bed warmer, and I turned it on, and I just could not get warm. I drank hot tea. I had a bed warmer. I did all the things, and it just didn't work. So, yeah, I that place is haunted as well. Um, it is an enjoyable experience in as far as like maritime history, nautical history. Just it's an interesting exhibit, but just know you might take someone home with you. Um, yeah, or at least some kind, or you know what? Not necessarily someone. It might be the energy that you're taking with you. So that's creepy. I don't like it. One awkward way to end the video. But I hope you like this look. This is simpler than the nightmare fuel that I posted the first time. And I was actually going to put that video out. Can you imagine? I like the way this makes my braces pop. Well, my top braces. I don't have my bottom ones yet. But I will see you on the next video. I think I'm going to do a little theme. We're going to go a little theme. I've done the Eastland Disaster. Sorry if it wasn't as thorough. But and we talked about Titanic Exhibit. I want to do this is one video or this one subject called the Eastern that I want to talk about. I won't put a preview of it up because I don't know if I'm going to do it, but it's a cruise ship. Then I might talk about this other cruise ship that was, do y'all remember the carnival ship that was down in Mobile that just like later days out of Mobile Harbor? Like it just snapped its mooring line and was like, and just floated out to sea. That's the one we're going to do. That in the Eastern. Because they got the same energy. They coming in here with the same trash energy. Same like whatever I'm cursed, energy. So, that is the plan. But, nah, that's the plan. Alright, I'll see y'all later. Bye.